This episode of Arrays of Living delivers the Me You Can Weave. And the Me You Can Weave is the first chapter of my book, Aladdin Carpets. And I thought I would present each month a chapter from the Aladdin Carpets book in audio form. If you like this approach in lieu of an audio book, then please look in the description to find the link where you can purchase the book. It's on Amazon and it's called Aladdin Carpets. And here is the first chapter. The Me You Can Weave. So despite all the many ways creatures view the world, including us, the important part to recognize is that we all still see something, just perhaps differently. The beauty is in the seeing, not in the method. So one time I had a group discussion about dreams. And despite the nature of this book, the topic was not about far-off goals, but rather about the far-fetched scenarios cooked up in our minds as we slumber. One person in the group said that they would have vivid dreams and remember them once they woke up, while another admitted that they used to dream, but at some point in their life, they stopped. They could no longer dream, or at the very least, could no longer remember their dreams. Where do you fall on that? That conversation, you see, left an impression on me. Why? Well, because the person who kept on dreaming could not even imagine their life without the dreams. They are an author, and they equated their craft to their dreams. They bundled their writing, wordsmithing, and ability to tell stories with the ability to conceptualize story elements via their dreams. In fact, the two were so coupled that they considered writing to be their superpower, their purpose in this one life they are currently living. Sadly, however, so many of us are like the latter person. We stop dreaming, or we stop recalling what we once dreamt. We get pushed onto traditional paths, into traditional mindsets, and we live traditional routines that after a while place us in a zombie-like state of existence. Is it any wonder so many of us are fascinated by zombie books, movies, and games? There's a familiarity in the concept, masked in what if fantasy. But so is Aladdin and his flying carpet, fueled by his discovered genie. If you were to freeze for just a moment and let go of all your worries and all your immediate concerns, what would you do? Where would you go? Who would you be? Do you remember when we were children, lying on our backs and looking up to the sky, aimlessly chatting or searching for recognizable things in the clouds? I see a cow. I see a star. We saw so many things when we looked up. And just going through our aspirations, alone or with someone beside us, we saw things. Now take a moment to focus on how you felt then. Take a moment to send yourself back to those times and try to connect with how you felt then. Just stop for a second to recreate that feeling of complete joy and harmless abandonment. And in that moment, what authentic thing would you chat about now? Or what authentic aspirations would you have? And I'm sure some of you will have immediate responses to this line of inquiry. However, for others, these questions will actually fall into a pit of the unknown, or for whatever reason will make some anxious. This may come across as harsh, and it's not meant to be, but I'm okay if it does, because I want you to get connected, get reconnected with yourself. I happen to believe those who do not know the answers to these questions have become disconnected from themselves in some way, and only in searching for those answers will they be able to rediscover their essence. If you have ever owned a rug or carpet, you may be familiar with the thread in the carpet becoming unraveled. I've certainly experienced that. Usually it starts from a small piece of torn thread that is ignored. And then over time, the tear gets to a point where a specific design in the weave may no longer be visible. It even happens with our scarves. And the same can be said for ourselves when we become personally disconnected. I realize that the thought of getting back in touch with oneself can be scary, but who better to reacquaint yourself with than you? If I had to choose between the familiarity of a zombie-like state or the magic of believing in flying carpets, hands down, I would run for the latter. Those who listen to my podcast have probably heard me say that I have an intimate relationship with myself. Definitely a message I was transparent about in season 1, season 2. If you have not listened to the podcast, then consider you've heard it here. Intimacy as a word is rarely pointed at oneself. People run around seeking intimacy with others. Few consider it with themselves. Well, such intimacy was forced on me as a child, and it was based on circumstances occurring with my grandmother and then my dad. 2 things occurred with me then. First, I created an internal dialogue. Then I turned to books of all genres as a means of escape from my reality. That started what has since evolved to be one of the most satisfying of relationships. And that is because it makes things simple. And as with all relationships, it's not perfect. It's not always ideal, but it makes things simple. Deeply knowing and understanding yourself means you know what moves you, what hurts you, what delights you, what satisfies you, and so much more. You are able to deflect the small stuff. You are able to instill boundaries, scope your personal space, and shape your life. An intimate self-relationship is more substantial than becoming self-aware. And it is not about being alone. And it is certainly not about being lonely. It is, however, about caring for yourself as much as you care for others. And it is a relentless drive for living a purposeful, impactful, service-oriented life. Purposeful because you come to know where you belong in this vast world in regard to your spirit, your career, your proximity, and environments. Impactful because accepting yourself means you are more grounded and are pursuing happiness. Hence, people will bask in the light you shine with your presence. Service-oriented because in better serving yourself, you are that much more capable to serve others. Spouse, children, friends, family, co-workers, and community members. Making this journey is about creating your carpet. Forget buying it. That is living with someone else's creation. In weaving your Aladdin carpet, you must consider the material to use, the colors, the pattern, oh my goodness, the size, and the density. All these aspects equate metaphorically to weaving a vision for yourself, weaving you. If you don't have that vision, or you're not acting on that vision, then you are wandering aimlessly through life. More importantly, you feel a void. You feel something is lacking, and you're not sure what it is or why you even feel that way. Is any of this resonating as familiar? I hope it is. So many people have shared with me that they feel stagnated. They don't like themselves, don't know yet what they wish to do or should do, or even who they are. And I appreciate the frankness of these statements. And if you're feeling that way, I want you to know you're not alone. Those who can relate, please know that you are not alone. These feelings come from not living to your full potential. It does not mean that you are not living a good life, but rather you are not living a life that will sustain your happiness. In one of the earlier seasons, I talked about happy moments. Laughing for the moment and then going away and feeling so sad. Laughing for the moment and then going away and feeling so alone. Laughing for the moment and then going away and feeling anxious or depressed. When that happens, you are not living a life that will sustain your happiness. And what we should all be striving for is sustained happiness. You may be having happy moments, as I've said, and they may be occurring frequently or not, but they're not lasting. As such, you face the void when the happy dissipates. You have not connected to your authentic self, nor have you resolved the stuff harbored inside that eventually sabotages the things I call shites in your life. You haven't resolved the shites in your life. Your carpet is weak and the fuel potentially tainted. The fuel that you need to soar. So in listening to this, my hope is that you can now hold yourself accountable to act on the me you can weave. In listening to this, I want you to pause to consider your weave. What are you weaving? I want this to be guiding you to truly coming out as you with no mask, no pretending, fully authentic. I want this episode to see you committing to allot time to your self-care and self-love and really embrace good love at play. I want you to listen to this episode and to start figuring out any shites, stuff harbored inside that eventually sabotages, any shites you may have, or at the very least admitting whether some exist. I want this to be igniting you to make a shift in how your energy is dispersed. I want this to ignite you to realize that all aspects of who you are significant and have meaning. That means your likes, your dislikes, your strengths, your weaknesses, your lived experiences. Everything is for a reason and it has meaning. All these your ups and your downs are done for you, not to you. At the end of every chapter in Aladdin Carpets is a spin into action section. And it's really about you taking stock of the things discussed and starting to just tick offs as you think and reflect on where you are in this life. What are you weaving? What does that weave of you look like, feel like? How would you represent yourself in the metaphor of a carpet? In the metaphor of a carpet, what do you need to fuel it to be able to lift it up and soar it into the skies like Aladdin? As I said, I'll be reading each chapter once a month. So if you enjoyed this, go and get the book, or simply continue to follow me and listen to the audio of each chapter. And if you need help with any of these teachings, need any kind of guidance, then please, again, reach out using the links in the description. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of Arrays of Living. And please be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You will also find in the description below my email address should you want to reach out, and I am happy if you do. And just to be sure, it's jen@youareworthmore.co, and worth more you definitely are. And lastly, also see the link that will allow you to schedule a meet and greet with me. And that's an opportunity for me to meet you and you to meet me, and for us to have a chat. And that would be wonderful and welcoming. So please hit the link and let's set up a meet and greet.